Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reach Out, the basic element for entrepreneurs. My name is Antoine Powell. I'm your host, and I have a wonderful guest, Mr. Keith Keller, so far. Today's topic, we're going to focus on building your model, not the what if. It's a really wonderful platform for individuals who want to learn more about just basic modeling, understanding how to continue to expand themselves by building their brand. And if you're looking at the replay, you can find me at Pokey_Twan. I'm new to this platform, and I'm really interested to continue to meet new people and continue to share the helpful information that I gather through Twitter and other social media sites. As I continue to build that relationship with the people that I'm in contact with, I start to learn about them and understand what's important to them, which is important for me because I love sharing. One thing I found really interesting so far when I'm building my model is there are different ways to build your model. You want to make sure that you attract people and also you are getting what you want out of it. So you have to be very creative. And what I'm doing to be creative is I'm learning more about websites. Website is the spot that you want to have everything at, and we'll consider that as home base. When you have a home base, it gets to show your identity about the things that you offer, how you are different, and what separates you from the competition. Because that's what it's about when you are doing business. Because our primary focus here is for entrepreneurs. And with an entrepreneur, it has to be hard work and dedication. And through my dedication and hard work, I want to continue to learn ways and help others. I got a wonderful guest also, Michael. He's from Canada. And I forgot to mention, I'm from Chicago, if you're watching the replay. And Keith, he's from Canada. So I love to pass the torch over to my wonderful friend, Keith. And Keith, would you give yourself a brief introduction and what you have to offer?
Look, I'm very, very happy to live in Canada. I however, do live in Melbourne. But Mike is a cool Canuck. Look, I'm a Melbourne dude. I'm putting my stake in the sand as, if you like, the king of Twitter. I only do one thing, and it's exactly what you said. When you build your online model, you've got to stand out from the crowd. I'm a one-trick pony. I'm the best in the world at Twitter. Maybe I'm not the best in the world, but maybe I'm in the top 10. People who know me for Twitter. I can't do Instagram. I don't know anything about websites. I don't know anything about web design and Google+. But if you're thinking you need to get your head around Twitter, then maybe I could help you. And if you do want to do that, I'm at Keith Keller on Twitter, and let's check in there. And Mike is in Calgary. He's been in three like this. It's 3 for 3. Isn't it?
Hey, I got to, you know what? These are the only ones that I've really been jumping into right away. So I was looking forward to getting back in here on Thursday. So I just had the time wrong today. I was like an hour early going, nobody's here.
What's your story?
So I'm in Calgary, Canada, and I run a marketing agency here called Full Blast Creative. So we're helping companies really craft that image and get all the promotional materials that they need to go out and brand themselves and put their stake in the ground for whatever expertise or discipline or product they're doing. So, we're building those web tools, whether it's the site, we're doing Instagram, we're doing Twitter, we're doing whatever the newest thing is to try to attract attention, get the messages out there, and just create their overall digital marketing strategy and that digital ecosystem that we all live in. So, yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. And like what I'm learning like so far through building my specific model is when you're in the beginning phase, you might not have that specific identity thus far, but with so much wonderful content flowing around and wonderful people that offer you suggestions or advice, it helps you mold what you are trying to do so that you can continue to move forward while figuring out what you are doing. And I want to be the person to speak out for individuals whose mother made the decision for them to say, look, play basketball, although they wanted to be a doctor, or the mother who, after she had a baby, she kind of lost attraction with herself and she knows she's a good author. So it doesn't matter about what everyone is saying. It's about creating that identity that help you become the person who you wanted to become and it might not be specific. So when we are entrepreneurs, as long as we have an idea as to what we want to do, that's the first step, because we have to identify what it is specifically we enjoy about ourselves the most, and then just go for it from there. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And that's that can be a really hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to determine or to really find, what that passion project that you have is, and translate that into business if that's the case, where you really want to make that out to be your goals and then build your branding around that. So I think that's a hard first step for a lot of people to really determine, though, what it is, right?
Yeah, and I agree. And one thing I find like mostly interesting with a person like Keith is, like, for instance, I understand my model might not be Twitter, but on this Twitter platform, I'm able to interact and I'm able to build a direct relationship with others who are doing something to build their model, in which I can learn how to build my model based on the steps that they're taking and the approach that they're taking on a platform that they master. So people, don't be afraid to ask questions. Always feel comfortable with someone who you are asking the question to, because the answer are not always going to be in your favor. It's just going to be something you might have to hear, although it's not something you want to hear. And that's part of growing. And in order to become an effective entrepreneur, learning how to deal with setbacks and downfalls is what make us become better, because we don't have a specific check coming in similar to working for a big company. So we have to create revenue on our own. And part of taking losses is what help us generate better revenue, manage things better. And that's all fall under building your model. And Keith, what you have any insight on individuals who might want to build a model, but they are not specific, or they don't have a specific approach on how they're going to build their model, but they have the drive? Similar to me, I have the drive, but there are individuals in my same shoes that might not have a specific approach. Like,
I'm going to ask Mike this exact same question, but I will give you my take on this. I watched a DVD from Brian Tracy, maybe the most motivating sales trainer in the world. And he said a very, very key thing that changed my mind forever. He said, if you don't want to be in the top 10% of your field, you're in the wrong field. If you don't want to be in the top 10% of your field, you're in the wrong field. And he basically said, if you don't want to get good, you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
Right? So one key question was, he then said, well, what do you want to be the best in the world at? If someone says, oh, that's Keith, he does Twitter. That's Antoine, he does. Well, there's Mike, he does those cool websites over in Canada.
It's tough. I mean, you can look at it from a couple of different standpoints based on maybe what's the demand in your marketplace for what it is that you're doing. So maybe drive hard on that, because you're going to get a lot of good business and exposure and everything else out of it. But maybe there's something unique that you do that nobody else does. Now, it's not in high demand or something, but that's up to you to sort of build your brand and your marketing around it to connect with that smaller group of people that are in that area. I want to pick up on what you just said there. There's two very clear ideas here, Anton. This is really cool. One is work on what's going on and master that. You can get very, very good at something if there's the demand, because you're highly motivated to get good at it because you'll get paid. That's one very, very, really sensible business model. Might not absolutely be what you want to do, but it's a lucrative model. The other model is to say, you know what? I just love painting with my feet. I just really, really dig it. And you go, okay, I don't know if there's a demand for that, but I'm going to master painting with my feet and just see what happens. Now, it's a risk, because there might not be any demand for people who paint with their feet, but you might be the world's most, admired expert at that. So somewhere in the middle is a lucrative model for business, but you can enjoy it too. And hopefully that's what we're aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah.
I ran into a guy in the last week here, and we were talking small business with the downturn in the economy here. Everybody is always asking each other, hey, how are things going? How's business these days? So anyways, I know this guy happens to run a window cleaning company, right? So a very unsexy job, right? It's pretty like, who would go into that, right? Who would want to pursue that sort of stuff? Now he's by day, he's actually a fire inspector, right? So he goes out and he assesses house fires and what was the cause, everything else. But he saw an opportunity, and it started, I think he said 8 years ago, a little window cleaning company. Now we were talking like the margins on window cleaning apparently are in the neighborhood of 80 to 90%, right? So you can't deny the money that you're going to make from it, but it's not the most like, well, what do you do? Oh, I clean windows.
Right.
Right. But so that's just an opportunity that somebody identified, and there's a need for it. And it's a pretty niche thing because it's not a high level of competition and everything else, but it's not a passion at all, but it's a good business model. And then you look, the other direction where a lot of people are like, this is just, painting with my feet. There's a very small market for the people that are going to buy those paintings, but that's really what you're passionate about. You do it amazingly, and you say, listen, this is a unique one-off piece, and it's $20,000. So, but you got to build up to that, right? So it's how you brand that and sort of market it as well. So, I don't know if there's much of a gray area there. I mean, obviously, some people are like, I like, picking up dog poop, and there's a big demand for it, and it's not the most glamorous job. So it's
and that's very important though, Mike and Keith, because we always sometimes as beginners, similar to myself, think we can instantly jump into what everyone are demanding. In reality, we should do something that's unique where everyone doesn't have much demand, just so that we could generate some type of consistent revenue. And then as we continue to accumulate customers and be able to compete on a larger scale, then we can escalate and elevate into a platform where there are higher competition, and we can last longer on that platform because, for one, we have something consistent coming in from a smaller standpoint, but we also looking at the profit on a higher standpoint where we can eventually go into things that can eventually, skyrocket. But starting small, like me, I'm willing to start small. So for individuals who are in my footsteps and they are beginners, don't be afraid to start small, especially if you don't have the resources. You need the resources. You need contacts. You need information. And also, you need to be sure that you are making investments and not making your company or your decision become a liability to you. And that's all part of building the model. Because the first thing that comes in our direction, it might not always be in the best of our interest. And after meeting Keith, I found out about alternatives of websites. I found out about alternatives of how to market. But if I would have went with the first thing that I heard of, I could have actually been losing more than I'm gaining. So, that's just a little information that I want to share with individuals who are watching the replay. Don't be afraid to start small. It's not that you are small. It's just you're learning how to take a loss at a lower level than your first loss being on a bigger level, Yeah.
Well, look, I want to share a really cool example with you. Actually, an example that we've chatted about, Antoine, and you might not know this one, Mike. But I've decided that I'm the Twitter dude, right? Now, Antoine did a really great piece for me based on Blab versus Periscope, and we pulled it apart. And he goes, you know what? I really quite like this Periscope thing. I might see if I can do it like the Periscope dude. And I said, okay, well, I want to share some numbers with you. There is 270 million people on Twitter, and there's 9,000 tweets a second. That's a model, and there's not that many people that are good at Periscope. So he could stamp out a really good model for Periscope. But then, based on pure stats, Facebook Live introduces a really lovely platform as a direct competitor, and then we know that there are 1.5 billion people on Facebook.
Yeah.
Virtually no one has mastered Facebook Live because it's not even available on most devices yet.
That's brand new.
And it's 50 million business pages that could be potential customers. So here's a good crossover. Antoine already loves the live streaming format. He's got a choice between using Periscope, which is a little bit crowded already. It's been around a year, and his maximum potential is 270 million people. he could invest his time in a brand new product called Facebook Live that virtually no one knows about. He could become the king of Facebook Live, and he's got 50 million business pages eager to find out more. So that could be, for instance, that's just based on pure research. It's not painting with your feet because you love doing it. It's a combination of finding out what's working, seeing where the potential is, and being clever. Have you heard those numbers about Facebook? What's your take on Facebook Live and whether that's a viable model?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because there aren't really any good examples. I don't know a lot of people in our industry and definitely clients that have been able to use it. Now the numbers are great, right? The numbers seem huge, but with all of this, whether Antoine's looking to be the king of Periscope or whatever else, the numbers are huge. But what's your actual audience? What's somebody else, or maybe it's a brand new audience that I'm trying to create. I think, branding wise, it's always good. We're always proponents of telling clients to at least stake their claim, even if they're not using it on all the networks, just so that they've got that branding model consistent across it. And sometimes it's wise to just run some tests, right? And sort of say, okay, well, I've got the same sort of content. I'm going to deliver it on all these platforms. And where do I get the biggest engagement from? Or where do I find some of that? Unfortunately, you can't really find that out until you start testing it yourself.
Exactly, and that tells us that experience is the best teacher. And what we learn from that also is statistics. They are very important. And with this in mind, we're gonna wrap up the recording. And I'm gonna let everyone to know you can reach me at Pokey_Twan. Whenever I'm on Blab, you can find me. Reach out, the basic elements for entrepreneurs. And we're going to continue to keep the series going. I really appreciate you guys joining in with me. And we're going to have an after party. Thank you. How did it go, guys? That's good?
Okay.
That's good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying it. So that's an interesting experiment.
I'll have to edit that a little bit. Yeah. And like I was saying, though, guys, like with me, I'm thinking more towards the since I'm trying to offer so much content, life coach skills, learning how to have the content for websites, the graphics. Like I'm in all of these fields because like I take a lot of notes and do a lot of research. I went to school for computer programming. Although I have a small jewelry company, that's not my primary focus. I consider myself more like directed towards the life coach, towards the business advisor type of person, and also having material whereas I can have it in a bundle where people can get step-by-step guides as to how they could, because there are people who consider themselves as entrepreneurs, but they don't have the correct guidance. And I think I can grasp a huge audience in that aspect of things. So that's more towards my audience, I would say.
Yeah, which is good. So it's a little bit more general, and because you've got a broader base to appeal to, right?
Right.
People coming from a lot of different walks of life, or a lot of different, seeking advice and stuff that way for sure, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I'm 30, so people in my age range, they are working for companies, but they're also going to school. And what I'm noticing a lot in the States now, there are a lot of people, they have potential, but they are afraid of their risk, but they still consider themselves as an entrepreneur. And the perfect example would be a person who will start a small company like a jewelry company like myself. They'll put more attention into affiliate marketing than their own company because they are not building their brand. They are more focused on how they could get this money from a company that's already established. Do you agree, Keith? A lot of small companies, they tend to lean towards that direction. And actually, they make more bad investments. So they invest so much into this affiliate marketing that they're taking away from their company. And I think it should be the opposite.
I want to actually specifically pick up on, I'm interested in your thoughts here, Mike. So with a lot of small startups, they think, okay, well, my company, my idea, painting with my feet, it's not making that much money. So I'm just going to actually, for the moment, I'm going to invest in selling a whole series of other things that actually have no interest to me. Tripwires, are you using them there? That's the sort of $9 idea, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the you've got a low value product that you just want to incentivize to draw people in. So typically, it's the I give one of the good examples was it was a company that does a lot of hunting paraphernalia, like a Cabela's or something like that. So these guys found some super cheap, like 30 cents in China, little Swiss Army knife credit card thing.